indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just want to mention that Wanda's not here to do the work. Public participation. Anybody? Minutes, November 12th, public session.
Motion to accept.
Second. Motion to accept by, what's your name?
Penny.
Penny,
It
and
hasn't
second by
changed.
Kathy. When do you get over that? Any errors or omissions?
No. I didn't see any.
You need a minute, or you?
No, I'm good. I'm
You're
good.
Everybody good? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. I was not present.
Okay. That's, 3, yes, Joel abstained. I'm sorry, I'm so used to looking over that one.
That's okay. I got it.
Just want to make sure we get the part right. Minutes, November 12th, non-public session 1.
Huh? We just did that one.
No, we did public session.
No, we don't have a non-public. I don't.
I don't have.
Oh,
they.
Well, that's what it says.
Do you have some sealed minutes?
Oh, I don't have.
I only have the 14th.
Yeah, the 14th public.
I do not have any sealed minutes.
They were regarding
Well, we
a
gotta-
student, so we had
that's what
suggested
my
to seal
agenda
them.
says.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have them? Okay. Motion to table,
Yep.
seconded by
Kathy.
Kathy. All in favor? Unanimous. November 14th, public session.
Oh, I should have abstained now.
Joel?
I should have abstained from.
No, it really doesn't matter.
Sorry.
though.
No, it's all right, you can motion
you
to
can
table.
motion to
Oh, okay.
Just 'cause you-
Motion to accept.
By Penny, seconded by Joel. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor?
Abstain.
He wasn't here.
Okay. 3 yes, 1 abstention by Joel. I don't know. All new business. Presentation of Youth Risk Behavior Survey by Tracy Cameron and Chief Willie. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you, neighbor.
Public comment.
Thanks.
Let's watch that corner.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, for the record, I'm Tracy Cameron, and I'm the transition specialist here at Farmington High School, and I am going to be presenting the information on the risk youth behavior along with Julie.
We just turned the lights.
Oh, okay.
Just can't see. Ooh.
Does that work for you guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me stand over here. So research has shown, if I stand up here, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Research has shown that priority health risks behaviors developed in childhood and adolescence often lead to poor health and lower productivity, including poor academic performance. These effects of such risky behaviors often extend to adulthood. The YRBS survey gives communities the opportunity to gather extensive data regarding health risk behaviors such as alcohol, tobacco, and drug use, sexual relations, and their perceptions of those risks. Just a little bit of background as well. When a student is taking the youth risk behavior survey, no one is allowed to read the questions to them. No one is allowed to be circulating around the room to keep the anonymity of the survey. They don't want any adult in the room to influence the child's possible answer. So there are some students that if they don't have the ability to read and comprehend and understand the question, that they are omitted from the actual survey. But as I know it, all of our students pretty much took the survey. That if they were here that day, they took the survey. So. Students are also asked to describe their grades. They have a host of questions. They ask them how they feel about whether have A's and B's, where they think they rank. They ask them things about whether or not they wear their bicycle helmets, seat belts, how many times a day or a week they eat vegetables or drink soda, how often they exercise, and how they would describe their weight, just to get some more statistical information. This survey is not intended to reflect on high schools per se, but because it's more to inform the entire community, but it does obviously affect the school because that's where the survey is taken. We don't want to target, the state and federal government doesn't want to target schools individually. So they try to release the data, or they actually release the data by state. And they only release the data to the designee of the school, which was Mr. Jazokis in this case of the high school, and then he can disseminate it obviously to the superintendent, and then we release the information we want. Data is broken down by sex, grade level, and overall group percentage, the crude rate in the community. The information presented tonight is reflective of the overall crude rate in the community to the overall crude rate of the state. The overall state report is available on the Department of Education website, but if individuals want or wish to obtain data on specific schools, they must request that from the Department of Ed under the Right to Know law. Add anything yet?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. Tonight we will present data both positive and negative as it relates to some of the more priority health risk behaviors. I did not include every question in this PowerPoint because the document is pretty extensive. It's over 100 pages. So it's with our hopes that when we release this information, it will bring more awareness and make a better understanding of the needs of our school and the community, as well as highlight areas in which education and prevention have made a positive impact on our community and students. So, for our school, 340 students from grades 9 through 12 took the survey. 173 of those were males, 167 were females. 81 were in the 12th grade, 72 11th grade, 86 10th grade, and 102 were in the 9th grade. School safety. This is where we're going to start some of the questions, the answers to their questions. The following questions relate to the school safety. Students were asked to respond to questions related to school safety, school and personal safety, including physical altercations, being bullied, risk to harming themselves, and overall sense of security while attending Farmington High School. So, the graph that shows here, I didn't do yours in color, but the state overall average is the blue with the little dots, and then the high school is, Farmington High School is always going to be the green. All right, so the question here was percentage of students who did not go to school because they felt unsafe at school or on their way to school, to or from school, on one or more of the past 30 days. As you can see, Farmington rated pretty well. It was 5.2 versus the state at 6.0. I'm not going to go down through all the breakdowns of each grade level. You can read that, and you also have it in the report. Students who were injured in a physical fight or had to be treated by a doctor or nurse one or more times during the past 12 months. Now, this doesn't specifically relate to school violence. This is just can be in the community, at sporting events, any type of outside event, as well as in the school. It wasn't specific to school. Farmington was rather high in this one. It's 9.0, and the overall average for the state was 5.9. Percentage of students who felt bullied on school property in the past 12 months. That was pretty significantly high compared to the state at 30.1 versus 23.8. I will point out this grade level here difference is, in grade 9, it seems to be that's more of an epidemic than as you move up to the grade 12. So that's something that we're working on here. Our students have gone through the bullying awareness and all of that.
So one of the things that we've done this year We had the school resource officer, in the guidance department go in and visit all the freshman classes, and they did a presentation on bullying and harassing, going over the definition, the types of bullying and harassing that are going on, and had a couple days of open dialogue with them as a way of sort of bringing this to light. They will continue some follow-up later on in the year, and then again towards the end of the school year. And our goal is to continue those conversations and continue to bring to light some of the things that are happening, where it's happening, how to report, where to report, who they should go to, and different things like that, and get kids to feel comfortable about talking about bullying and harassing that's going on here and outside of school.
The bullying component was one that was recently added, I believe, in the last survey just prior to this one. So the last survey was the opportunity for us to establish a baseline as far as bullying goes. And if my recollection is correct, we did show an increase from the last survey. From this one, I believe it went from about 24.9, about 25% up to 30%. So, but obviously, this is something that, or the survey was done, most of it was done prior to a lot of these things that Mr. Bouzoukas talks about taking place. So the interesting thing will be to take a look at the next year's survey and to see what kind of inroads we're going to be making in the next 12 months.
This question was specific more to electronic bullying of the past 12 months. The gap was a little bit closer, but still higher than the state average at 20.7 versus 18.9. Unlike the actual bullying, the cyberbullying kind of is a little bit higher as the grades go up. 11th grade sort of peaks.
One of the things that I noticed, and you may notice it as far as a personal observation, is as more and more of the slides go on, you're going to see spikes at two different grade levels, generally the grade 9 and grade 12. Part of it is, I would assume, transitional. As freshmen come in, there is a huge transition from the middle school to the high school. And then obviously, once you get to that senior age, you're getting 17 and 18-year-olds that are feeling a little bit more like adults, engaging in adult behavior, engaging in a lot more risky decision-making, testing boundaries. So it became evident as I went through the document, went through the survey, you could see spikes in those two areas that really, kind of dropped off and saw a huge valley with the sophomore and junior class.
You noticed the same things talking today. Okay. Percentage of students who, during the past 12 months, purposely hurt themselves, such as cutting or burning on purpose without wanting to die. Ours, again, was a little bit higher than the state at 20.4, and the overall was 18.7. And grade 9 was the highest one on that one. Percentage of students who in the past 12 months felt so sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row that they stopped doing some of their usual activities. Again, we are higher at 29.2 compared to 26.2. And grade 12 was highest, and it was actually highest amongst females.
And again, I think when you look at those last two slides, one of the things that we've done this year and will continue is adding that third counselor on staff and being able to meet with the kids more often, identifying kids earlier, those kids that might be at risk or higher risk, and being able to meet with them more than just maybe once every 2 or 3 months, to a point where in some cases they're meeting with kids on a weekly basis or every couple of weeks, especially those high-risk kids.
Percentage of students who seriously considered attempting suicide during the past 12 months. Again, we are higher at 17.2 versus the state at 15.4. And grade 12 and 9, coincidentally, are the two highest, which Chief Willard just pointed out are really two pivotal years, I think, with their transitions and things like that, and the things that they have to think about and process what they're doing.
The stress orders.
Yes, the stressors. Percentage of students who actually attempted suicide 1 or more times during the past 12 months. Again, we are higher at 7.8 versus 6.9. And keep in mind, this data comes from the spring of 2013. We just got the data, but it was done in March of 2013. And so we're looking at last year, some of last year's numbers. And I know that earlier in the evening when I first got here, I was talking to a couple of the board members about the validity of some of the questions. And we can say from our experience working here in the guidance department that these numbers are pretty accurate as far as the individuals that we knew of and that we were dealing with on a last year basis. That number would be right on target. So. Percentage of students who suicide attempt resulted in an injury, poisoning, or overdose that had to be treated by a doctor or nurse during the past 12 months. Again, 3.7 for Farmington and 2.4 for the state. Our highest peak was the grade 12 peak, and females was the highest at 5.0.
And again, some of the work that we've done to, taking a look at this is, looking at this slide, it was pretty disturbing at first glance to take a look at the percentages and how higher we are as the state average. But, with the social worker that we've been working with last year, and we'll be hiring again this year, and sort of helping identify some of these kids and get the services. The other thing that we're doing right now, we're in conversations with community partners, and I'll let Tracy give you a little bit more information on community partners, to have them come to Farmington High School 1 day a week to be able to provide some of the services, some of the counseling that kids need, so that we can eliminate the obstacle that might be in front of them, whether it's transportation, to and from, or any of those things that go on. So we're hoping by January to have that on board, so that when kids are referred to community partners and they are seeing a counselor, that counselor can be here on site, so we can accommodate that part of it. So, you want to give a quick overview of the community partners?
Community Partners is our region's designated mental health center. Any individual who goes to FSB or Wentworth Douglas with a potential risk of suicide or an attempt of suicide has got to be evaluated by Community Partners. They are the designee for our region. And once they evaluate that individual, then they would decide what the risk level is of that individual, and then they would prescribe treatment. Meaning they would either go to counseling, they would be admitted. There's several areas. Community Partners has a wide range of services. They do individual counseling, group counseling. They do community-based services with students. They do anything from mental health to developmental disability services for students that are individuals that are over 21. So, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
The parents involved in this?
Absolutely.
Do they sign off?
Yes, they have to. We have to get a permission. They have to get a release from us. We have to get a release from them. Whoever the party that institutes the conversation or initiates the conversation would get the release from the parent. But they absolutely have to have a release. Yes.
So up to what age do they have to have a release?
Till they're 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracy,
We still contact,
before you go on.
even if they are 18, we still reach out unless we have that child who submits a letter to us saying that they do not want their parents involved in their piece of it. Otherwise, we still believe that whether they're 18, 19, or 14,
Yeah.
parent needs to be involved until that time happens.
And we would get a release from them no matter what.
Right, there's another population of kids that would also benefit from this, and this kind of came to light, unfortunately, through tragic circumstances at the end of last year. A lot of kids are supposed to go to community partners for counseling. Getting there is an issue for some of them, and there tend to be a whole bunch of excuses sometimes in various families in terms of why they can't get them there. So by having the counselors actually come here 1 day a week, those kids who are already scheduled to see a counselor now don't have those impediments. They can get the counseling that they need in a setting that's safe, in a setting that's convenient, and kids don't miss the counseling that they seriously and desperately need. So I think it's a benefit both to community partners and to us, because it allows them to see kids before they get to the crisis stage, and it also allows us to make sure the kids who have already been through the process and who are supposed to be receiving counseling, get the counseling that they already are qualified to receive. So,
Typically, we get about 4 releases a month from community partners, or new releases a month for students that we have at the high school that they see on a, or want to see on a regular basis. And it is definitely a hindrance to them for transportation, so I think it's a great thing. Okay, the next part of the survey is in relationship to their relationships that they have with their boyfriends, girlfriends, that sort of thing. And it's their personal safety in their current relationships as well as the relationships they previously had. So percentage of students who have ever been physically forced to have sexual intercourse when they did not want to. 7.0 of Farmington High School students have reported this versus 6.5 of the state. Grade 12, you can see a marked increase of 14.8 over the state average of 8.5. And is significantly more females than males. But the males as well are higher than the state average at 5.2.
Prior to the release of this data, I had reached out to a safe place, and we last week held a forum here, or workshop for parents, on teen dating violence. And that I looked at, and as I explained, was only the beginning of the conversation. And unfortunately, what the survey did was reinforced our anecdotal evidence that we have. We didn't have a whole lot of empirical, but we had a lot of anecdotal evidence about things that were going on. And this just reinforced it. So it will be a continuing conversation that we'll have, and certainly we will look to continue educational series with students and with staff members through SAS, with a safe place, in order to educate everybody about this, get everybody on the same page, and to hopefully eventually bring these numbers down.
Of those who dated or went out with someone during the past 12 months, the percentage of students who were hurt physically on purpose by the person they dated. 11.2 for Farmington, 9.6 for the state, which also is what Kevin's workshop was discussing, and will continue to. I don't know what that's for. We're going to skip that one. Tobacco use. The following slides will address tobacco use, including cigarettes, cigars, chewing tobacco, snuff, and/or dip. The percentage of high school students that use tobacco was higher or slightly higher than that of the overall state average. Percentage of all students who smoked a whole cigarette for the first time before the age of 13. Farmington's, it was 12.6. And the overall state average was 7.8. As many of you know, the junior high did their survey this year. The first time that it was instituted, the YRBS survey was instituted with almost all middle schools in our region. And it was a little bit different than the high schools, as I was explaining earlier. The CDC and the DOE pay to help with this YRBS survey at the high school level. Therefore, the DOE needs to vet all of this information prior to its release. That's why we didn't get ours until just a couple weeks ago. The junior high's information was paid for by the One Voice Coalition. So it was a little bit different, but one of the, and the questions weren't all the same, but the purpose is so that we can pin down to the best of our ability when this risky behavior starts. Okay, so it's 13, that's what the high school survey says. So what are the junior high kids reporting? Are they saying, oh, well, I smoked my first cigarette at 9? So is that where we should start the education process? We're just trying to get a better handle on where